Welcome to this episode of the World Hard Enduro podcast. This episode, we will be speaking about a few Hard Enduro races that happened recently leading up to the first round of the Hard Enduro Championship. We'll be speaking a little bit about Valleys Xtreme leading into Valleys Hard Enduro. We will also be giving you some rider information, some rider stats, some bio information about some top riders who are also entered into the first round of the championship.
Awesome. So the three races that we'll be covering that happened this past weekend are the Hard Enduro Arsenal race, which is actually a race that took place in Romania. It's part of the Romanian National Hard Enduro Championships. And it seemed like quite a crazy cool turnout. I don't know, how many participants were in that race?
About 336 participants.
Wow, that is an incredible number. I don't know if you see that in many motorsports, not just hard enduro.
That's a good point. I don't think we see numbers like that very often. So super awesome job to not only the organizers, but the riders, it seems like they've got a really good hard enduro culture out there in Romania.
Yeah, 100%. Motocross, you definitely don't see those numbers at all. Even on an international level, AMA motocross, you don't see numbers like that. So well done. That's impressive.
That's cool. I think it was a 3-day event, so that was prologue day 1 and then 2 race days. I'm not too sure who took the overall win.
I can help you with that. The pro class overall win was David Cyprian.
Nice one, David.
Nice, David. I believe that he is actually from the Czech Republic, so probably not taking part in the full Romanian National Championship, but just doing this race for practice. Maybe we'll see him on the entry list for Valleys Hard Enduro. I have one more question. So that race, it's a 3-day race. How many kilometers do they do on each day?
So day 1 was their prologue day, which was on, I think, the Friday, and they did 20 kilometers on day 1. Day 2 was 80 kilometers, and then day 3, another 50 kilometers.
That's a pretty solid 3 days of riding, I would say.
I'd say as well.
Yes.
Super cool.
Who is first, second, and third?
So first, David Cyprian. Second, Norbert Josa. And third, Raul. I would like to mention, though, that there were 4 women who completed the Enduro race that weekend. And so I think round of applause to them because...
Well done, girls.
Wow. Well, you ladies are really doing the hard work. I don't think I would be able to do what you do.
Yeah, that's awesome to see. So then the next one I think that we will be covering is the XL Lxtreme Lagares that happened in Portugal this past weekend. Quite a popular race within the hard enduro community. We see a lot of pro riders using this as not a stepping stone, but as a testing ground going into the Hard Enduro Championship. I think also a 3-day race.
Correct. Day 1, I think they had like a super special on the Friday. What do you understand as being a super special?
Prologue. And if I saw correctly, prologue takes place at night as well.
Oh.
So it's a night prologue, so they have to use headlights on a super enduro test inside the city.
Got it. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, there were, as you said, it's a 3-day event. So they had another day on the Saturday, which was in like the hills and on some like really slippery like rocks and in some like streams, and then another main extreme day on the Sunday.
Who are some of those notables? You said that quite a few of the hard enduro riders use this as practice. Who are some of the top riders there?
That's a good question. So I know if I look at the entry list, or at least at the results, first was Mario Roman. So definitely a top rider using this as a really good practice, I guess, and training for leading up to the first round. We also had Diogo Vieira, which, if I'm not mistaken, he's also was part of Pro Championship standings last year. And let me see if there's anyone else. Sorry, man, I'm not fully familiar with all of the top riders, but there were a couple others. Oh, Mark Fernandez Serra. I know that he's also, I think, entered into maybe round 1 of the Hard Enduro. So definitely some top riders in there who will be racing for the championship this year.
Is there a women's class in that race that you know of?
I don't think so. I don't think there's a women's class specifically, but there may have been women riding in the event itself, but I can't guarantee that information.
Cool. And junior class inside XL Lxtreme Lagares?
Not a junior class. They had a pro class, hobby, expert, veterans, an open class. That's about all that they had. So unless the juniors or the youth entered into one of those other classes, there wasn't specifically a class for juniors.
I bet you they're good enough to enter pro anyway. So.
Probably.
So the next one that we want to talk about is the Hard Enduro Germany series. It's a race. Sorry, forgive me. I forgot the name of this race.
Heaven or Hell Xtreme Enduro.
We actually watched that together, the highlights of that race.
Correct. So Heaven and Hell, it seems like quite a tough one. What's the format for this Hard Enduro race?
Also 3 days. So the first day was prologue. Then they had another 2 days of racing. If I'm not mistaken, day 2 was quite a long day, but day 3, the final only started at 3:15 in the afternoon. So it was only, I think, an hour and 20 minutes plus 1 lap on the last day.
Okay, so I guess a multi-lap race format. So as many laps as you can do in hour 30 plus 1 lap. And any noteworthies inside this race from the score sheet?
Well, I would like to mention that there were 170 participants for the prologue on day 1. So it definitely shows from this race as well as the one in Romania, there's definitely some really good turnouts in these national races. I know that on day 1 in the prologue, a young rider, I think he's one of the youngest ones, his name was Henry Strauss. He actually came first in the prologue and he beat Sonny Gogia by 3 seconds.
Well, that's a close race.
Absolutely. How cool to see young riders really giving the top riders a run for their money.
Yeah, that's awesome to see.
Overall, Sonny Gogia took the lead and on the last day and managed to pull away from his competitor, which was, I think, Felix Baker. And overall, Sonny got the win. There was actually a women's class, a seniors class, and an amateurs class at this event. And I know that someone who's also entered into the first round of the Hard Enduro Championship is Charlie Frost. He was racing at this event or at this race, and on Saturday, I'm not sure exactly what happened, but he was basically penalized and moved to the back of the field on the Saturday and managed to move his way up and finish in 4th place.
That's a really commendable ride.
Yes, absolutely.
It's not the best situation to be in, but it seems like he turned it around and had a good race.
Definitely. So I would say that basically wraps up the main Hard Enduro races that have happened recently leading up to the first round of the championship.
Cool. And also one point I'd like to mention is that Sonny Gogia actually won the first 2 races of the Hard Enduro Germany series. So he took victory at the first one probably a month ago, and then the most recent one that we just spoke about now.
He's not from Germany.
No, he's actually Italian.
So
yeah.
Interesting tactic to race in these Hard Enduro races, not in your home country. Maybe, I mean, if he's in Germany, then, you know, he's definitely getting a different experience, different training, different terrain, maybe going to help prepare him for the championship.
Yeah, could be.
Is the German Hard Enduro series very popular? Is that why he chose to go there, or what would be the reason for that?
That's actually a really good question. I'm not sure.
I think it is very popular, but the Italian Extreme Enduro series is also very popular and quite well attended from the Italian. So Italian also, they've got a more Enduro GP style, which is quite popular. But yeah, it's interesting to see that he's not racing there, or maybe racing both. You know, you could probably see him in both championships, just getting extra seat time on the bike. So that concludes the most current races that happened at the end of April that we kept on our radar just to see what the top riders are doing, and leading up to the Valleys Hard Enduro that's happening now in May 10th, as Taryn mentioned. But I think more importantly, and a race that I want to highlight and to look a little bit deeper into, is the Valleys Xtreme Enduro, which happened at the same venue that the Valleys Hard Enduro is happening next weekend. So that's a super interesting race to try to delve deeper into, to see who did what, and also, yeah, they're getting a competitive advantage, from my opinion, for riders to go out there, test their bike, test the tires, test the terrain, and figure out, what is the best setup for the first round of the Hard Enduro World Championship. So yeah, that's an interesting one.
I agree that it's definitely going to give them, the top riders, whoever was at that race, a competitive advantage, because you saw Manny there, you saw obviously Ashton and Mitch Brightmore, both of them are from the UK, so for them it's more of a local race, but for Manny that's definitely not a local race. So I think definitely a strategy to go there into the race and get a little bit of expert experience, you could say, leading into that first round.
Yeah, I agree. I don't see any disadvantage to riding terrain that is going to be where the race is held. From my perspective, it was absolutely treacherous. For you as a hard enduro specialist, what was your point of view? Because I'm sure you've seen horrible conditions. Was that quite a sight to see?
Yeah, it was pretty wet, as it usually is on that side of the world. And I think that tire setup, tire choices, bike setup is a crucial key, I think, to these types of races. Super gummy tire. What we mean by gummy is that the compound of the tire is just like really soft, so you get ultimate traction inside these like very slippery conditions. And I think that really can make or break your race. I think that, when we go riding, if you have a hard motocross tire on, how does that turn out for you?
Not very good. I mean, for me, going riding with you never really turns out very well with my level of experience in hard enduro. But yeah, hard tire, I've learned it does not work at all. Yeah, so I can imagine how much of a part that plays in that race and how they would approach it. You said that Mitch and his brother took part in this race.
Correct.
Where did they place?
So I have the top 4 results. So Manny came first. He finished 10 minutes before Mitch Brightmore. And then Johnny Walker came in 3rd, as well as Ash Brightmore coming in 4th.
Very interesting. So Mitch put in quite a performance there.
Yes.
Well done,
definitely.
Mitchell.
How much Mitch won or beat Johnny by?
And it was quite a close competition. It was quite a close race between 2nd and 3rd.
Yeah.
But Manny ran away with it.
He ran away by like a good 10 minutes.
It's going to be tough to beat this year.
That's it. And I mean, he's playing the cards right by racing the pre-race, you right?
Yeah.
He's the guy going to the pre-national, testing tires, testing bike setup, making sure that everything's on set up right.
Yeah, and I think from a visual perspective, he is definitely one of the freshest looking guys out there. He is very well put together. What a gent.
Yeah, that's really cool. So I think that pretty much concludes our overview of these post races. Pre-races, sorry. So now, who's actually entered into Valleys Hard Enduro? I think sign up is closed, so we shouldn't see any new riders popping up on the entry list, and who are noteworthy. And then let's dive deeper into who these riders are and who to look out for the season.
So I'm going to give you the name of the riders who entered into or came like top of the World Hard Enduro Championship last year in 2023. So we obviously have Manny, who is entered into the race. We have Theodore Kabachev. We have Mario Roman, Wade Young, Alfredo Gomez. We also have Matthew Green, which is it's not surprising, but what is surprising is that he's now no longer in the junior championship, but he's now in the pro championship class. So even though he did enter into the pro championship previously, this is kind of his full out run and try at this class.
Yeah, and quite interestingly is that I think the reason why he's also moving up is because of the rules. In the last podcast, I said between 23 and 24 years old, but it's actually you have to be younger than 22 on the 1st of January.
Okay.
In order to
Okay,
enter
that
the
does make
junior
sense.
class inside the World Hard Enduro Series. So now he's currently 22 years old, but you have to be younger than 22 in order to enter the class. So he is now officially with the pros, battling it out
Yeah, with the big dogs.
with the big
And
dogs.
I believe that he placed second in the juniors last year. Is that correct?
Correct.
Yeah, that's correct.
But he has won that class before, has he not?
Yes, he has.
Okay, very interesting.
Yeah, the year before he won, so 2022.
Yes.
And then 2023, Mitch Bartmore and Matthew went down on a nail biter and gets in Rodeo. And Mitch, just took the win from him there. But he's taken a title, and I think that he's quite ready to go to the pro class. So who else do we have?
In the pro class, we also have, as mentioned earlier, Sonny Gogia. We did mention him earlier, as well as Charlie Frost. They were in the race, if I'm not mistaken, in Germany.
Okay.
So they will be in the championship class. We also have Vaclav Nedved. He's a Czech Republic rider. We have David Cyprian, also from the Czech Republic. A Mexican rider, Didier Goyrand. We have a rider from the UK, Will Hoare. We have Mark Font Torres from Andorra. And then we have Ramon Bragoli from Italy. And the last one, which I think is interesting, is Mitch Brightmore, also in the championship class. So I'm interested to see if Mitch and Matthew Green are going to go head to head this year as well.
Yeah, so they moved up at the same time. So are they the same age? Do you know?
I'm not actually sure if they are the same age.
Yeah, it seems like he's probably won a title and now moving up to pros, facing off pretty much head to head with Matthew. So I'm pretty sure that they were going to be going flat out at each other.
Yeah, a rivalry that will span over many years, I believe.
Yep, and possibly to victory inside the pro class.
I can also speak a little bit about some junior riders, or those who are entered into the junior championship for the first round. So we have Ashton Brightmore. We have Mark Fernandez Serra from Spain. We have Barnabas, I can't say your surname, I'm so sorry, but he's a Hungarian rider, and he did pretty well in the championship last year. We have Felix Baker from Germany, Ertz Crayston from Great Britain, Hugo Crozet from France, James Moore. James Moore is actually not from the championship from last year. He's a new rider. I'm not actually sure where he is from.
So he's actually a South African rider, really prosperous, up-and-coming South African rider. He's entered Roof of Africa many times. I think he got a second place inside the silver class at Roof of Africa, as well as a fourth place in gold the year after. So he's actually a really, really really skilled rider, and I'm sure he's going to take this class by storm. So I'd be very interested to follow his career or season, and to see where he ends up.
We also have Klaus Bischoff from Austria, Lenny Goretzky from Germany, Jan Voland from Germany, Asaf Seller from Israel. We have Thomas Scales, also new to the championship. I'm also not 100% sure where he is from.
South Africa. Also another South African rider, up and coming.
Oh wow, that's really cool, actually.
Yeah, it's super cool to see, and I have no doubt that our junior riders from South Africa can take some charge and take some names inside the World Enduro Series. So super cool to see.
Fantastic. And we have another new rider. His name is Valentino Hutter, but I also am not 100% sure where he is from. I couldn't find that information.
So also just to clarify, these are names that are entered into the Valleys Hard Enduro first round of the Hard Enduro World Championship. They are classified as hard enduro for FIM, so that's racing the full series, but this doesn't include races that may join the championship at a later date. So for instance, example we see here of like Billy Bolt, which is injured, busy coming back from surgery. He is not entered into this race at least, but he is most probably going to enter the series at a later date when he can rejoin the series, when he's healthy enough.
Yes.
Yeah. One person, though, that I thought was quite interesting when we looked at the entry list was Johnny Walker. Johnny Walker's actually not entered into the FIM Hard Enduro World Championship, but rather the ACU Championship,
yes,
which is the British National Championship. So that's also quite interesting. He's a world-class rider. He's super good. Everyone. He's a really well-known name inside Hard Enduro, but not racing the full series.
Do we know why that is?
I'm not 100% sure, to be honest. It's probably support to get to all the rounds of the races. America, I believe also for him would be quite a far trip from the UK all the way to America to TKO. So I think that's probably a reason. But I'm not 100% sure why he's not doing the whole series. He didn't do it last year either, right?
No, he was not in the championship class last year.
Okay.
So there are some other riders also that aren't entered into Valleys Hard Enduro, but that we may see pop up to one or two races and still score points for the FIM Hard Enduro World Championship. And that also is Tristan Hart. So a name we know really well within the Hard Enduro community. He won't be racing inside Valleys Hard Enduro, but we may see him pop up at some other races in the year.
Yeah, I was actually going to ask you. His name was not mentioned. Why? I believe last year it was because it interferes with the US Hard Enduro series. Is that probably the same reason?
I presume it's the reason, Taryn.
It is very possible. If I refer back, I don't have my notes on me, but if I can remember correctly, I think that it does overlap with the AMA Hard Enduro Championship.
Yeah, and I think for priority for sponsorship, because Tristan Hart does race for factory racing, KTM factory racing, but FMF factory racing. So I think that most probably it's just sponsorship obligations is just to clear up the national championship, the USA national championship, and then because they've got many, on side the World Hard Enduro Championship that looks pretty solid. Tristan Hart will be battling Cody Webb, which we may see also at one or two races, but not confirmed.
We're also missing Graham Jarvis.
Really?
Oh,
Yeah, he is not entered into this first round. Where is Graham Jarvis from?
Yeah, a British rider.
So he's not entered into the race that's in his hometown. Well, not necessarily hometown, but home country, which is very surprising.
He also didn't race the Valleys Xtreme, right?
Correct. Is it possible that we see Graham Jarvis not racing inside the Hard Enduro World Championship? Retirement?
I don't know. That doesn't sound right.
Doesn't sound right,
Doesn't sound right. I thought he was going to keep going until the wheels fall off,
Yeah.
Not his wheels, the actual bike's wheels.
Yeah, his wheels are strong.
Correct.
Yeah, for 49 years old, and he's still absolutely showing everyone how it's done on a daily basis. So quite interesting. I wonder, I have no idea why he won't be entered. Could be injury. It could be something that we just haven't heard of just yet, but I'm sure that questions will be asked at some point.
Yeah, so there are some very big names that aren't making it at least to the first round.
That's correct, yeah.
Dan Peace, he's also a British rider for Sherco, and he's also not entered into that first race. So, we have quite a few top riders from the championship last year who are not entered into round one. I don't know if that means that, it's just this race that they're not entered into, or if it's an indication as to who is going to be entering and attending and racing these championship races for the rest of the year. I hope to see more of them entering the races, because the larger the field, the more competition, the more excitement. The smaller the field, it becomes, one could say, a little bit predictable as to who could be winning these rounds, right? So I think just as spectators and supporters of the hard enduro scene and racing, it's better for us to see more riders entering these championship races.
Yeah, completely agree. Hard Enduro, though, is also super unpredictable. There's not only your body, but it's also your bike that you need to maintain. And as the GOAT of Hard Enduro would say, Graham Jarvis, you first got to finish first. So let's see.
I would like to share a little bit more information about this first round at Valleys Hard Enduro, just so that our listeners can understand exactly what the details are around it. So if you didn't know already, it is round 1 of the championship. It will be from May 10th to 12th. We were really interested to find out how many spectators would be there, but unfortunately we don't have access to those kind of statistics. We don't know how many people will show up there, but we definitely will try to speak about that and speak about the turnout in the post-race episode. So it will be in South Wales at Walters Arena, which is an old coal mine. I think it's very exciting to have the UK be the first round, open the championship, as well as be a new location in the championship. I think that there's such a large community of riders there in the UK, and I think that what a fantastic place to really kick things off at.
Completely agree. I think that that's going to be a very interesting round to have as the first round, and then also just to have as a round inside the Hard Enduro World Championship. And I think that some of these British riders, they know this terrain quite well. They know what bike setup works well. They know what tires to use. So it could be quite interesting. Yeah, we could see a shake-up. What do you think, Gus?
I think we could see a youngster come in swinging. I'm not going to mention any names, but he's pretty bright. Future ahead of him.
Save it to the end when you get your predictions.
Okay, I'll save it.
Some more information about how the Valleys Hard Enduro round 1 is working, the schedule. So day 1, you actually have prologue, which is the top 48 riders from the Hard Enduro World Championship previous year. They set them out into 4 groups. So group 1, 2, 3, and 4. 12 riders each group. Knockout race. So they race against each other on an super enduro test so obstacles, logs, tires, these types of things. A short circuit. They do 2 laps on this track. Whoever is the bottom 6 of the 12 get knocked out, and then so on, so forth.
So it's not all 48 riding at the same time?
No, so it'll be 12. Group 1 will be 12 riders, and then the bottom 6 get eliminated. Then group 2, bottom 6 eliminated, and so on and so forth. Then group 1 and group 2 join together to make 12 riders again for the round 2. Then the bottom 6 get eliminated again, and then the same with group 3 and group 4. And then at the end, you'll only have 2 groups joined into one, which will be 12 riders again. And then you'll have your final round, which is a 3-lap race. That will then set the tone for the next day, which is the qualification round. Qualification rounds do count for points. So your top 3 riders do get points actually towards the Hard Enduro World Championship from this. So it's 3 points. So obviously third place 1, 2 is 2, and then first place is 3. It is a timed qualifying race. So wherever you finished in prologue the day before is where you start the qualifying day. Where you start is quite a good advantage because you're not going to have back markers and you're not going to have people behind you because it's a 1-lap race. So it's from start to finish. I think it's about 6Ks roughly, this track, Extreme Enduro or Hard Enduro. You'll have 2 sessions, one in the morning, one in the afternoon. Your best time then will qualify or count towards your qualification time.
For the race day.
For the race day. So that will help slot you into where to start on race day, but also it counts towards points, as I said.
Does race day also start the same way, one at a time going off?
Race day is not one at a time. I think it's 12 riders at a time, in groups of 12 with 12 seconds 15 seconds in between for FIM, and for ACU it's 10 seconds in between. ACU again is the British National Championship classes.
So what happens with riders who are entered into both? Is it possible to be entered into both? Which category would they then go into? Would they go into the FIM category And do they split then? FIM is one category and ACU is another category?
They race together, if I'm not mistaken, and FIM will start first and then ACU will be behind them. Actually, you know what? I'm incorrect. No, I'm completely wrong. I'll start this whole thing again.
Could
You
have
cannot.
fooled us.
I was confidently wrong. So on main race day, so Sunday, the 12th, the ACU riders will begin in the morning. So it's an AM race. They race for 2 hours, 30 minutes, or 2.5 hours. And then it's counted on the checkpoints, so how many checkpoints they go through. At 2 hours 30, the course is closed, and then it's based on how many checkpoints you've completed in your 2 hours, 2.5 hours.
And one lap is 6 kilometers.
No, in the main race, it's, I think, 16 kilometers, if I'm not mistaken. So that was for qualifying, so the day before. And then for FIM, to answer your question, the FIM is the PM race. So they race in the afternoon. They race for 3 hours plus 1 lap. So it's how many laps you can get in 3 hours. And
On the same course?
On the same course as the ACU. That's correct.
One thing that I did pick up on, which I have mixed feelings about. There are 218 entries and not one woman.
That's devastating.
It is, and I'm not really sure why that is the case. I checked the entry, and there was actually a ladies class for both the 2-day entry as well as the 3-day category. So there was a ladies class, but no ladies as far as the research that I've done in the entry list. There are no ladies entered. So I don't know how that is going to affect this Women's Hard Enduro Performance Award, where women who are in the races are recognized, as well as then supposed to be promoting and encouraging more riders. I would like to mention, though, that in our last podcast last year, it was supported by Gas, but this year it's supported by 24MX. But yeah, I'm not really sure why we don't see any women riders. And I'm confident that there are some really strong British women riders, but not really sure what the reason is that we're not seeing women participate in this race.
After watching the Valleys Xtreme highlights, it kind of makes me think what the reason why maybe.
I completely get it, ladies.
But we would love to see more lady riders inside racing hard enduro, and for it to be more accessible to them. And also to touch back, 218 entries into this race. That's, again, high numbers we see.
Do we know how many of those entries are in the main class?
I think, if I'm not mistaken, there are... So by main class, do you mean the FIM championship class? So
Correct.
In the championship, the pro championship class, I think there are 17 guys entered into the pro FIM championship class. And if I'm not mistaken, I think it's maybe 14 junior riders entered into the junior championship class.
So the rest take part in
other classes of, I guess, ACU. Maybe not necessarily ACU, though. I think that there is a championship class that's not the FIM championship, but then there are also other classes. There's an expert class. I think there's a kids class, like age 12 and up. So I think there are loads of different classes within this event. So I think the 218 is everyone, not necessarily everyone being in the ACU championship.
I think ACU also just refers to like national championship. So there will be probably club racing happening. So a club class for people that are just doing that one race. And then there's the ACU class, which is the people that are traveling throughout the British Championship. But super strong turnout once again.
Yeah, super.
And yeah, the club riders and national riders just bring the numbers to these events, right?
100%. They are the stars of the show.
Definitely.
Without them, you wouldn't have 218 entries.
Good point.
So I'm pretty sure that covers everything that we wanted to talk about inside this episode of our pre-race hard enduro, Valleys Hard Enduro. So now I think the interesting part is we have some pre-race predictions. And I would like to start with Chris, you first. Who do you think from FIM, the Hard Enduro World Championship class, who do you think is going to take the W?
This was a tough one, but with very good reason. I would have to say Manny. I would have to. I hope, and nothing against Manny, great rider. I hope that someone comes out and shocks us. I think that would, just add some spice to the whole championship. But at the moment, he looks like he's the strongest and most likely to take the overall.
Taryn, who do you think would take the FIM Hard Enduro main class, the pro class?
I'm going to go with Mario Roman. I am. He's done really well last year. He's done really well in some preseason races. And I definitely think he's got what it takes to be a bit of a wild card. So, Brandon, what is your prediction?
I have very similar feelings to Christopher on this side, but I am going to play a wild card as well, and I think that Theodor Kabachiev is being super solid, and on a factory team, he just looks like a new racer, a new rider, coming from a privateer setup to now a complete factory team. He's got everything that he needs to make it happen. So let's see. I think maybe the only thing that may hold him back is that he wasn't at Valleys Xtreme, which Manny was at. So, yeah, I think Manny's going to be tough to beat, but let's see if we can have a shake-up.
I love that we all have different people to win the race.
Yes.
Yeah. Let's see.
Competition's on, boys.
Okay, what about second?
Ooh. I'm going to go with Wade Young.
Wade Young?
Yeah, I think he's been really strong. He's been, from what I've seen on social media, he's been training really hard.
Correct.
So, yeah, I think he's maybe got what it takes to pull a second there.
Well, if what it takes is being built like an upside down triangle, then there's your second place, guy. Please.
Who do you think is going to come second?
I want to go with your first place.
Okay.
Maybe a little bit. We don't know what we're going to see, right, from him on that bike, but it seems like it's a good fit. I mean, he's tall enough to walk through the course, and I think that he's hitting his stride. So I'm going to have to go with Theodore.
I'm going to mention my second and third place because I think I'm going to give you my full rundown. So first place, Theodor Kabachiev. Second place, Manuel Lettenbuchner. And third place, I'm going to say Mitch Brightmore.
I have to agree with you.
I think Mitch Brightmore takes a podium at this race.
Yeah, I have to agree with you. He looked phenomenal at the Valleys Xtreme. Yeah, came second only to Manny. So I think we would be silly to count him out. I know it's his first go in the pro class, but he has that home track advantage. He's been riding there. I think the hype as well. First race in the pro class. I think he's got all of it going for him.
You guys make really valid points.
Taryn, who's your third?
What do you think?
I think we can't discount Manny, to be honest. Like, I feel like you can't have a top three without him in your top three. So my top three is going to be Mario Roman, Wade Young, and Manny Littenbechner.
Solid.
I absolutely love that.
Let's see what this first round brings.
Solid. Yeah, let's see.
Super exciting.
And if you guys have any of your predictions, please feel free to join inside the comments below, and just add who do you think is going to take the top three at the first round of the Hard Enduro World Championship. We are super excited from World Hard Enduro. And let's see what you guys think.
If you have any recommendations, any questions, any suggestions for our next episode, it will be about the Valleys Hard Enduro post-race, but then we'll also be leading up into the rest of the season. If you have any suggestions, any questions, anything you'd like us to cover specifically, please don't hesitate to reach out, send us a message, leave a comment, share it with your friends.
Like, subscribe, share it with any of your Hard Enduro mates. No, but seriously though, if you have any friends or buddies,
just please share that. Share that shit, boy.
Come on, we at Hard Enduro, we're just trying our best here to give you some news and some info.
We appreciate the support.
Thanks, guys.
Don't forget to
add gas.